Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, I know that you are all in the construction industry already, but I know that you're all actually in different parts of it. So in no particular order, maybe if we go from top to bottom on my screen, Matt, if you want to start, could you just tell us a little bit about what you do, where you work, how you came to be in construction?
Yeah, so morning everybody. My name's Matt Brennan and I work for Generate Developments, which is a developer based in Manchester city centre. A bit about me. So when I was sort of going through school, I had no idea what I wanted to do in the future. I was probably like most young people that I wanted to be a professional footballer or something similar, and it suddenly became a realization that wasn't going to happen. So I decided that I would knuckle down on my GCSEs and go to college. And when I went and looked around the college, there was a department that was doing design, technology and architecture. And the minute I saw it, I loved it. And it was about, you know, creating spaces for people in the future. And that's ultimately what hooked me in. I wanted to be involved in something that helped people 50 years, 100 years, 200 years down the line, and I was hooked. I couldn't get away from PE. I still did that. I just chose subjects that I enjoyed doing, so I still did that, and I also did photography because, again, it was something I enjoyed. Being honest, I didn't do great at college either. I wasn't that successful. I didn't work hard enough, and that was a realization in the second year, but I did manage to get into university, and I wanted to do architecture, but I ended up doing planning and development. I was determined to get in the construction industry, and that mostly came through probably my family. They were very construction related. My dad is in the construction industry, uncles, granddads all have been. So that's why I wanted to do it. And yeah, I joined Nottingham Trent University back in 2013, doing planning and development. Loved it for the first year, but switched courses to what's called building surveying in the second year. I then sort of learned and understand the project management role, which was just one aspect of building surveying, and did a placement year, which means I did a year out at university. So I went and worked in the industry for a year, which was probably the biggest experience that I could have got. And I loved it. I've loved the company I worked for. They pushed me. They, you know, showed me everything to do with construction industry. And I went back to university, you know, successfully got my graduate honours. And then, yeah, returned to that company because they were happy with how I performed in the placement year. And that was four or 5 years ago, and you know, I'm still in the industry, still in Manchester. Moved up north. I'm actually from Cambridge, never gone back. So that's probably how I got into it. It was a bit of everything just happened and seemed to follow step by step, but I was always pushing to work in the construction industry because of probably family, and also that being involved in something bigger. You know, you are creating something for, as I said, the 50, 100, 200 years next steps. That's why I did it. So that's probably how I got into the industry.
Fantastic.
And how I got into project management.
Brilliant.
That's what project manager was 4 or 5 years ago.
That's amazing, and I think that's very reassuring for a lot of students who'll be watching this to know that, you know, you can have a passion, but it still takes a while maybe to shape specifically what that looks like. Charlotte, on to you. What do you do? How did you get there? Tell us a little bit about yourself. I can't hear you, Charlotte.
Can you hear me now? Hello? Oh, okay. Sorry, headphone issues. So my name's Charlotte Fuller and I work for AEW Architects in Manchester. As a child, I was very creative and always quite hands-on, and used to enjoy helping my dad out with different DIY tasks. So I think architecture was always sort of the route or path that I was going to take. So just under 10 years ago now, I started my Part 1 degree at Leeds Metropolitan University, which is now known as Leeds Beckett. That was a 3-year course, and I managed to get my Bachelor of Honours degree. I then had a year out placement working in a Manchester city centre office. I then went back to university to take the Part 2 course, and that was at Manchester School of Architecture. I got the March degree, and then I went into full-time work, and I began working towards my part 3 to become a fully qualified architect, which I managed to achieve in October last year. So I am now registered with the Architects Registration Board and the RIBA, and that was basically a very quick summary of my route. It was very straightforward because I always kind of knew what I wanted to do.
Fantastic, thank you very much. Luke, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Catherine. So my route was a little bit less defined, hence being a business development manager. I did geography in university, so you normally wouldn't think that relate to this industry. But I focused a lot on regeneration, the built environment, and I did a lot of research and field work in Barcelona and Liverpool and comparing both the regeneration projects there. So that really led me on to enjoying the idea of built environment, placemaking, identity, and so on. And then once I left uni, I sort of fell into construction. I was helping out a family friend, and I started doing some construction. I was there for a few months, and then I went to work for an actual property developer, where I was there for about a year, just over a year. And I was very hands-on, getting involved in the building, but I was managing the site, I was managing the consultants that were coming there, I was managing the clients as well and their expectations, everything from waste removal, and so I really got a real good feel for all aspects that would go into a small scale build. And I think dealing with the client as well from concept right through to delivery was quite a nice feeling, to actually give them what they'd already seen on the plan originally, and then to actually deliver that physically to them was, quite a rewarding feeling. I worked for a person back then. He was an architect at the time as well, and he used to work for the Forestry Commission. He used to manage, I think, 3/4 of the UK's area for the Forestry Commission. And learning from someone like that and having him as a direct mentor, I guess it just inspired me to, want to stay in the industry. And, I think, as Matt said as well, build spaces or be involved in build spaces that, do last for these 50, 100, 200 years, that will be here beyond our time. And, you can walk down Liverpool now and Manchester and start pointing out buildings, every single side and go, I was involved in them, which is quite a nice feeling. I think it's quite a rewarding feeling. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my journey.
Brilliant, thank you so much. Rosie, how about you? Tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do and how you got there.
Hi everybody, thanks Catherine for inviting me today, really appreciate that. So I never knew I wanted to get into construction, had no experience or knowledge of what the industry was, and like Luke and probably Lauren as well, I fell into it. So I did a marketing degree, and I did a year in industry during that course. So during that year, I worked for a networking company with different members, and we organised networking events and stuff like that. And through that, I met my now manager. And after uni, she actually offered me a job. And it was really funny because I was out shopping in Zara and I bumped into her and she said, oh, do you know anybody that needs a job as a BDM in construction? And I was like, well, what about me? So then she was like, oh, brilliant. Yeah, definitely. So I just went in and had a chat with her and my director, Steve, and that was it really, just fell into it. And I absolutely love it now. It's amazing. It's an amazing industry. It's my job and Luke and Lauren's jobs as a BDM. It's very sociable. It's a very friendly industry, so it suits my personality really well. So yeah, I absolutely love it.
Brilliant. I'll come back to that. I've got some questions on that in a minute. Lauren, do you want to tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, how you got there?
Hello. Yeah. Hi, my name is Lauren. So similarly to Luke and Rosie, I'm a business development manager. I, again, like Rosie, didn't have a clue about construction, had absolutely no aspiration to join it, and I did an IT degree. And then once I'd finished that, I kind of decided, definitely don't want to go into IT. I've done it for 5 years. Like, I've had enough. Computers are a no-go. So I had probably 2 months off of doing absolutely nothing because I thought I was a student, I deserved some time off. And then needed money at the end, so I had to look for jobs everywhere and was like, I need to just get a job at the end of the day. And I actually applied for an admin job at a contractor that was 20 minutes away from me, and went in for the interview, and they were like, this job's for an admin assistant, you're a bit overqualified, you've got an IT degree, do you want the job? And I was like, well, yeah, I'll take anything, I need money. So They said, yeah, join us, and you know, there's a career, like there's aspirations for you to grow, so you know, join us, and join the company, and absolutely loved it. Loved the industry. You know, it completely opened my eyes to, you know, the possibilities of working in the industry. So I joined as an admin assistant, and then I moved to document controller, so I was working on sites, and then I moved to marketing coordinator, so I was working in the marketing department and marketing the business. And then eventually 4 years down the line, I started doing business development. So working under my manager, you know, getting out, socializing, all that fun stuff, and completely loved it. So my company that I did work for actually went under into administration last year, right in the middle of the pandemic. So I'm now actually at another company now, doing business development, and we do housing and social housing. So working in that sector is really rewarding, because you know, you're making a massive difference to, you know, residents all over the Northwest, Leeds, Yorkshire. We work everywhere, so it's a really rewarding sector to work in, and you know, I just love it. I'd tell everybody to join it. So yeah, that's me.
Brilliant, thank you. Yes, I do hear that a lot, and I think that, you know, for young people, the idea of the sort of cold, muddy sites and things, whatever that might be, that feels like it might be very isolated, but actually this is teams of people all working together. So on that note, my first question to you all, and this will be very interesting, as some of you knew that you wanted to join the industry and some of you kind of accidentally ended up here. Can you tell us what you love about the industry, and maybe something that surprised you or challenged you about it that you didn't expect and that you didn't think is maybe quite so great? So let's go the other way up the list. Lauren, should we start with you?
Yeah, so like I said, I love you know, making a difference to people's lives, especially in, you know, the sector that I work in now, in social housing. That's a massive thing to me. Personally, I was completely shocked about how friendly the industry is and how friendly everybody is going on sites. You know, you expect, especially as a woman going on site, you expect a different experience than maybe you get. Like, I go on site, everybody's really friendly, you know, you get the odd situation, but nothing like what you would expect. It's not all muddy sites, you know, our sites are really clean, and it's definitely changing, you know, as the industry progresses and we get further into more women coming into construction. I've not found anything bad about it. Like, I can't give a challenge. Like, it's just a fantastic industry, and it's, you know, it's always going to be here. It's you know, we're leading the way in how the, you know, the world looks, and you know, what houses we live in, and you know, all the sustainability and stuff. It's fantastic. I can't say anything bad about it.
Okay, a ringing endorsement there. How about you, Rosie? Anything you love and anything you're not loving so much or found a challenge?
Yeah, so I think for me, the best thing about the industry is the people, and that it's always at the heart of it, it's always people, especially in our role. I think it's all based on relationships, and this phrase is done and said to death, but people work with people they want to get on with and get on with. So I think that's the best thing about the industry, that it's just so friendly, so sociable. People really want to help you as well. You know, when I first joined, I was really nervous because, like I said before, I had no experience or knowledge of the industry, what construction was. But I just said, if I didn't know the answer to a question, I said, oh, I don't know, I'm really sorry. And they were so happy to help me and guide me. So I'd say it was the people that are the best thing about it. I think the worst, well, not the worst thing, but one thing I do find is actually it isn't as diverse as it should be. There should be more women in, and there should be more people of colour and different ethnic groups and things like that. So I think there's a long way to go to get to that point, and it is a bad thing about the industry, but it isn't as bad as I think it used to be. And I think there's a conception that it is muddy sites, and it's not. There's so many jobs in the construction industry that it's not just building houses. There's so much that you can do. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Brilliant, thank you. Luke, as our third BDM, what do you think? Things you love, things that you found more challenging?
Yeah, we're a bit saturated here with BDMs, aren't we? Yeah, so do you know, it's really funny. I'm actually going to send Rosie a message, and we've actually written the same points down. But I guess to add on to that, it'd be very typical of our role. you know, the construction industry is a people-led business. You know, the whole industry is people-led. You know, whether you're working in a technical role or like we, you know, a client-focused role that we work in, all the time you will, you know, be surrounded by friendly people that do want to help, as Rosie said. And I guess it's not being scared to put your hand up. You know, it's one of those. I've been on sites and I want to go on the sites. I want to go see what I'm working on. And I suppose it's not being nervous to ask those questions. It's getting out there, you know, getting as much experience as you can. You know, absorbing off all these people who have multiple years' experience in the industry. It'd be a shame to watch those skills disappear. So, you know, it's always make sure you absorb those skills. I guess on top of that as well, no 2 days are the same. You know, I know I work for an architect now, but I've worked in signage, I've worked on sites, I've worked, you know, for different employers. I worked in property investment in London, and every single day has been different, because one day I might be working on a school, another day you're working on houses, the day after that you're working on, you know, healthcare. You know, you could be working in any or all industries, and the joy with that means that every client's different, every experience is different, every budget's different. You know, I've been on times where I've been riding external lifts up a massive building, you know, and I'm stood on top of a skyscraper, you know, just looking down. And, you know, days after that, I've been working with interior designers. So I guess the variation that you get in the role is brilliant. And I suppose to add on to Rosie's point as well, yeah, diversity, I suppose, is the only negative I'd say of the industry. You know, there's only 1% of people on site are female. That's just unacceptable. It does need to improve. We need to make sure that we are being more diverse in the roles. But I guess that all comes down to what we're doing here today is educating the educators, I guess, on the possibilities and, you know, opportunities that people have in the industry. It's not just laying bricks. You know, you could be doing anything from rope access to, you know, being a BDM to, you know, working on machinery to being an interior designer to being fit out. There's an unlimited amount of opportunities in the industry, and I guess it's important that people know that.
Absolutely. There's a piece actually over on Best Connect from the CIOB about 168 jobs that they identified within construction. And to be honest, there might even be more than that. There's probably just, you know, as we develop the future, there'll be opportunity for students to create the jobs that they want as well, and face new challenges. So we'll move on to our two people who actually knew that they wanted to be in the industry. What do you love about it, Charlotte? And maybe what has challenged you or surprised you about it?
So like Rosie and Lauren have said, I absolutely love that it's such a people industry. It's, you know, construction is a collaborative thing. Like we've said, there's so many people involved. With me personally being an architect, architects are often the lead designers and coordinate all these different disciplines. So it's not just about designing the building in plan or elevation, it's also about considering the structural items, the M&E, all these other things, the interior design, all these other things that make the end product. I would say, I wouldn't call it a negative, but there's a lot of problem solving involved. And I guess with problem solving though comes, you know, more knowledge. So, you know, it's a challenge for sure. But, you know, the more you are challenged and the more you explore, the more you're actually learning. So I can't really find a negative in terms of the job. But as the other guys have mentioned, you know, there is a diversity sort of problem at the moment. But there's a lot of people now that are, you know, educating others to make them aware about this issue. And, you know, us guys speaking to students and getting them involved and letting them know that there's so many different opportunities involved. It's not just your architects, your structural engineers. There's so many different opportunities that you could take. It's a fantastic industry to be in, and everyone I've come across has always been really passionate and really friendly about it with the industry. So yeah, really enjoy it.
Brilliant, thank you. And Matt, how about you? Things you love, things you don't love so much, maybe?
Yeah, it's tough to follow without saying the same things. No, look, I think the main one for me is the making a difference. That is what I love about our job. You know, we've recently finished a shopping centre in Rochdale, which is brand new, and I just sat there for a day just watching people appreciate a new shopping centre. We put Nando's coming to town, and people were just delighted, and it makes a difference to people. It's huge. And that's a massive step for Rochdale now, and now we're going on to better things by bringing in more apartments, more a Hilton hotel in Rochdale. it's making a difference in town and seeing people's reactions, and that's one thing I absolutely love about my job. I'm naturally, ever since I was young, as a leader and being a project manager and leading people down a project from start to finish, again, just gives me a buzz. I love to take control. I love to put a program in front of everyone and say, right, this is what we're doing. This is our challenge. Let's do it. Let's work together. So again, that's something that I love doing. I do like a challenge, and I love the fact that every day is different and every day is progress. Not every day is the same in our industry. And even on a project, that a day later you've moved forward, you're nearly there at that next goal. So that's definitely something else that I love. Meeting new people. I moved to Manchester on my own. I now have a group of friends, including everyone that's on this call today, and that's thanks to the industry just being so nice and welcoming. I think the biggest challenge we have today would be around sustainability. I don't think we are even halfway there yet in terms of construction industry. I think there's much more we can do, and quicker. I think it does annoy me at the slow progress that we make. I think there's more that we could do now, but construction industry is very traditional. People like their ways, people like their methodologies of construction, and because they know it, that's what they stick to. And I'd like to challenge that more, and I try to with projects, but it does come down to money as well at the end of the day. The more difficult it is for them, the more we pay in risk, and therefore you don't tend to do it, which is frustrating. And I wish that could be pushed a lot better. So that's probably my sort of bugbear, but that's something that I'm trying to push from our project's point of view to improve.
An excellent introduction to my next question. Thank you very much. Obviously, if you're around on Friday, please do join us, because there are people talking about some of the finance issues and how we maybe break down some of that. But as the future leaders in the industry, and I won't necessarily come to you all in sequence, but please jump in if you've got thoughts. As future leaders in your businesses and in the construction industry, how do you see your role for pushing some of that change around gender equality, or just equality and diversity more broadly, around sustainability, around technology adoption, the things that the industry kind of needs to do? How do you feel you can do that yourselves, or maybe work together to do that? Do you think it's happening enough? Anybody want to go first with that one, or got any thoughts to?
I think doing things like this is really important. We've had these conversations so many times, and I think actually doing something, not just talking about it, is really important. So going into university schools and making young girls aware that there's opportunities in the construction industry for them as well, because there are. I think it's just a case of, it's not a case of they don't know about it, but there's just, like I said before, a misconception of what construction is. So if we're talking to students and young people about the different opportunities in the industry, I think that's a really good way of changing things, because by the time later on it might be too late. So changing it from the first part of school and primary school is probably the best way for me personally.
And that's something that your employer supports you to do, and
yeah,
you can push
for us at Stephen Hunt's, he's really keen to sort of inspire the next generation of engineers. So he's always, we'd actually take an apprentice through college and university each year. So he really wants to get the best talent in his business, and just for the future of the industry as well. So yeah, definitely.
Brilliant, thank you. If you've got just a note to audience, if you've got questions, please do put them in the Q&A, because I don't want it to just be my questions. Make sure that you're asking questions to the panel, although I will encourage them to go over to Best Connect afterwards if you want to connect up and ask some questions one-to-one. Anybody else want to give some thoughts on how, as future leaders, you're sort of pushing for this change, whatever that might look like in your organisation?
I guess adding on to what Rosie said there as well, I mean, if it all comes down to education, isn't it? It's not just diversity and equality. It comes down to education at the end of the day. When I was in school, if I thought construction, I'd thought of going to college and becoming a brickie. And that's the honest truth. Now, it's not just that. And I think the truth is, I don't think people in school who are educating about this understand the, diversity within the industry. They don't understand the opportunities that are available. So how can you educate on it if you haven't been there and seen it. Now, on the flip side of that, there's a responsibility for the employers to make sure that the people within education have an opportunity to be able to see this, and whether that's taking them on site, whether that's getting doing open days, whether that's going into doing workshops in schools, whatever way that you see is possible, you've got to be constantly showing people the new change. And at the same time, you don't want to look like you're stagnant. The Northwest is growing rapidly. I worked in London, it's stagnant, but when you come to here in the Northwest, it's going crazy. The amount of investment here is crazy. We should be educating about that more often. We should be talking about Liverpool Waters, Peel Waters, Manchester Waters, people like Capital and Centric and so on, out in the suburban areas. All these different companies are, surely it's exciting for people. And I think then your diversity is going to be less of an issue, because people want to be where success or growth is, and they're going to find that if they come to this industry, 100%.
Yeah, very, very true. Certainly I know the pushback that we get in the work that we do with schools is that as careers leaders and teachers, they can only know what they can know about. They can't possibly know everything about every possible industry. And the responsibility is very much with employers there to help plug that gap and give them that insight and information. And you've probably seen these statistics before in schools. You may recognize this yourself in your own experiences, that CITB say only 10% of the whole construction industry actually do anything with schools, which for an industry of the size of ours, that's just, I know everybody's busy and crazy and committed to projects and things, but actually we won't have a future workforce if we don't raise that up a little bit. Anybody got any more thoughts on sort of the sustainability issues and anything like that you want to share and talk about?
Yeah, I can follow on that one, because from our point of view, we are as the employer at the top, we set targets at the start of a project in terms of sustainability, in terms of social impact as well. So going to schools, etc. We will start out a project and say, what do we want to achieve throughout this project? And one thing that we actually put in a contract at the start of before we go on site with the contractor is a load of KPIs, which will say we need to do the following in the local area, which would be like going to schools, going to charities, spending X amount of money local. And we as an employer enforce that because we know it's important, and it's something that we're proud to do as well. So that's something we can do, and that's something we'll continue to do. And I think a lot more employers are actually doing that now. There will be a social part of the contract now, which is fixed. And I think that is great. And that's something that we can do. And I think in terms of the project brief start, we sit there right at the beginning of the project and say, what can, we have key criteria, and sustainability is up there. What are we doing that's going to help in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years? And, we look at EPC ratings, right? We're going for A. We go straight to the top and work there, and we try and stick to it as much as we can, budget dependent, and budget does affect it, but we're quite proud that actually we do stay with the sustainability, and we try and drop other things if we have to lose costs. So that's one thing that we can do. From my point of view as a project manager, that's what we drive for sustainability.
Brilliant, thank you. That really practical solutions. That's great, thank you. I can't believe that we're coming to the end of our time. I can't believe that this has gone quite so quickly. And teachers, careers leads, enterprise coordinators, please do jump over onto Best Connect, because I really think that there's so much more that we could be talking about here, and so many more ways to have this conversation. But just to sort of finish off for this session, I'd like to ask you all, what would be the piece of advice maybe that you'd give to your younger self about your journey so far, what you've experienced? And if you could, all of the jobs, all of the opportunities in the industry, you've seen so many people doing other things. If you weren't doing what you do now, which of those other jobs might you be doing? What has grabbed your interest? Let's start at the bottom and go up. Charlotte, over to you.
So to my younger self, I would say be more confident. There's always been times where I've sort of doubted my abilities, or sort of overthought things and been really anxious about things, and in the end it never turns out as bad as you expect. So I would definitely say be more confident in myself. In terms of other jobs, I think I would have considered something like a site manager's job, because there's so much going on. It's seeing things, it's seeing designs come to life, and there's so many different people that you have to coordinate. there's so much going on, and you get such a good understanding of the more technical and real life sort of situations of how these projects come together, that I think that's something that would also have really interested me.
Brilliant, thank you. Lauren, how about you?
Very similarly to Charlotte, being confident. It's me and Rosie have multiple conversations about imposter syndrome and not feeling like you're good enough. And even 6 years into the industry, I still feel like I'm the one person in the room that doesn't know what's going on. But really, that's not the case. Either nobody knows what's going on and everybody's winging it, because that's what everybody says. You know, we're all fudging it. Nobody knows everything. So just believing in yourself and believing that you can do the role that you're employed to do, and you can do the apprenticeship that you want to do, and you can do it. You just got to put the work in. What role? I would absolutely love to have Matt's role. I think I've said this to you before. I'd love to be a project manager. If I could have gone back and done a project management degree, I probably would have, but I didn't know that it was a thing. So obviously this is what we're all doing today, and yeah, that's probably what I would have done. I like being bossy, so
I never say never, Lauren. It might happen.
Well, yeah, we'll see. I do love my role though, so yeah, definitely. But project
maybe you split them, do 50-50. Rosie, how about you? What would you share as advice, and what job would you love?
I'd say listen to advice from other people. When people tell me something, I'm like, oh no, that's wrong, or let me just do that, and make the mistakes, but they know what they're talking about and they've done the mistakes already. So if they're telling you, do it this way, do it that way and try it. And also get LinkedIn and try and connect with some decision makers on there, and just talk to them and see if you can get some advice from them, or experience is like really key. And if I was anybody else, and actually this isn't impossible to do, but I'd love to work with like Marketing Manchester or Marketing Liverpool and focus on placemaking and place marketing and attract people to cities and attract investment and that sort of thing. So I love marketing and I love business development, but I think I would love to sort of go on to that maybe eventually in the future. But yeah, that's, or interior design, I would love to do that as well.
Can I just add in there really quickly as well? Where Rosie said about speaking to people on LinkedIn, finding a mentor. If you can find a mentor in the industry, that is such a massive, it helps incredibly. Even now, I've got mentors that I go to and I speak to, you know, every month, every week if I need help. So finding a mentor in the industry or discipline that you like is really helpful.
Just get as much help and advice as possible, because everyone wants to help you.
Brilliant, thank you. Luke, how about you? Advice and ideal role?
Yeah, I guess quite similar. I grew up in North Wales. I'm here right now. I would say get out the countryside, especially when you're young. But no, I think I wish I knew what was going on in the cities when I was a little bit younger. You know, I think now when I started meeting people, even if it's over the Zoom, my network's grown considerably. So I suppose it's not being scared just to reach out, give people a call, drop them a LinkedIn message, as Rosie said, just reach out to people. No one is a bad person in this industry, really. You'd be very unlucky to find that person. So, you know, just reach out. Don't be scared. I'm always available. For example, I know anyone else in this panel will equally be always available. So it's the point that the rest of the industry is like this as well. Just don't be scared to reach out, and always don't be scared to obviously have your own voice. You know, like we said, people-led industry. Age is no sort of definition of experience or, you know, of efficiency. Just, you know what you know, and I guess, you know, sit with confidence in that. And I guess if it was another job, well, I'm quite an extreme sports enthusiast, so I've seen quite a few people do rope access, and I think I'd just love to have a go at that. I love my job now, and I wouldn't change it. But I think if you could get me abseiling off massive buildings and stuff, I'd be all over that.
That's absolutely terrifying. And last but not least, Matt, how about you? What would you share as advice, and what job could you do if you weren't doing this one?
My advice would be always ask why, and don't be afraid to say you don't know. That is the biggest thing. You know, going into the industry, you've just got to understand that you are where you are, your age is your age, and you're you know what you know. And if you don't know it, ask, because there's always someone else in the room who will also be asked or wanting to ask the same question. So don't be afraid to ask that. Other tips would be in terms of college and uni, just pick things you enjoy doing. That is, a lot of unis will say, oh, you need to do this, you need to do that alongside courses and things. I got told I needed to do massive architecture, so I did it. I didn't like it, and I didn't do well in it, and that was the be all and end of it. And you didn't need to do it at all. I would have been better off picking something that I enjoyed. So always do something you enjoy. Would be my second one. If I was going to do something else in the industry, I'd probably do something that would be sort of SketchUp related, actually, which is 3D video making for buildings, actually. I used to do SketchUp quite a lot. I enjoy it. And I sat there on this project one day and this person said, this is how we're going to construct your next project, and showed me this video on SketchUp. And I was like, I could totally do that. Like, I didn't know that was a job, and that's what he did. He showed me a 3D virtual video of how the next schemes are going to happen, how it's all going to be there constructed, and I was blown away with it. So that's probably what I would do, and that just shows the sort of jobs that are available in this industry. It's so varied. So yeah, that's probably what I would do, actually. That's my next one, which a bit less pressure on that as well.
Brilliant. Thank you all so much for joining us today. It's just been amazing to speak to you, and I hope that teachers come and ask you more questions and get involved, because this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much more to say about what you do and the work that you do. But thank you so much for joining us at the Festival of Construction. Matt, Luke, Rosie, Lauren and Charlotte, thank you all.
Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having us.